everyone, it's Miriam with a Y. Let's use Marabu's inks in a Petri. And let's mess around with that Petri a little. You know, let's do more than drop colors and let the colors have all the fun. Let's move things around so that we have a little fun too. I'm going to work in a small mold and a tiny pendant-sized one. And I'll zoom in so that you can see everything that happens in detail as it happens. My colors will be Marabu's agave, turquoise, tangerine, and maybe red-orange. I'm still on the fence about that. And I will use the metallic bronze, which looks very coppery to me, and I think is really pretty and will go nicely with this color mix. And the white in this art form has to be Jacquard Pinata Blanco Blanco. Okay, let's make a couple of Petris. For these Petris, I'm using my go-to 45-minute work time resin, CLEARCAST 7050. I use different resins for different things, but for Petris, I always want one that's not too thick, and that'll give me some time, especially if I want to manipulate things. My resin is mixed and poured, and my next step is to dislodge any sneaky bubbles that might be hiding out and clinging along the inner edges of the molds. This is the easiest way to get at them. Bubbles that cure on an edge like this are a bummer visually, and they are wickedly sharp. I'm using a silicone-tipped tool so as not to scratch my molds, because every little blemish in a mold will be reproduced in everything you ever cast using that mold in the future. So be kind to your shiny molds, especially. I let the resin sit for a few minutes to allow as many bubbles as possible to gather in the middle of each mold. Then I very, very quickly run a torch over them to pop them. The speed is to prevent scorching the resin and causing it to want to bond to the mold, which can happen if the resin gets overly hot near the edge. Now let's start adding color. I start out with a couple of drops of Marabu turquoise. What helps create patterns and sort of like the wispy look that you can get when you're making Petris is letting that color sit for a bit before following it with Pinata white. And I also find that when I do that, I am less likely to have white crash through to the other side. I'm not sure why, but that's been my experience. Kind of see how the ink expands and then contracts. I'm going to wait for that process to finish before adding the white. In the meantime, I'm adding bronze to the little pendant and then agave, the green color, between the turquoise drops. The bronze, like all the Marabu metallics, contracts relatively quickly. Now I can follow up with the white everywhere. I make sure to wait for the green to kind of contract first, though. Next step, a couple of drops of tangerine over the bronze, just to add some extra color and a little, I don't know, brilliance. And then some agave, again in the oval mold. The white is a different formula than a regular ink. It's got, it's opaque as opposed to the translucent or transparent colors of the colored inks. And what makes up the white is a pigment and other stuff. So that has a tendency to want to form a skin. Now adding color over it sometimes can break it up. And here the agave has broken it up. But no matter how precisely you place those drops over the white, getting that white to be perfect when it spreads is so challenging. And honestly, it's often impossible. So now I'm strategically adding some turquoise to further break up the white, as well as to continue to add to the texture that I'm hoping to form on the other side. Not loving the white in the middle, I'm using a skewer to go in after it. Sometimes moving the white into a more, I don't know, pleasing shape is enough sometimes, but sometimes I take it out altogether. When the white ink and that resin mix, it will easily cling to something that touches it, like this stick. And if I'm really careful, I can remove it all without disturbing what's going on underneath. With that gone, I continue to add to the center. And then when I add more color to the left and right, I purposely drop it right on the white to dissolve it a little bit. It'll kind of break it up. And I'm also trying to maintain my symmetry throughout. Then some more color and more white across the board. All right, now for some metallic fun. This is where Marabu's metallics really shine. Oh my gosh, I just realized how, excuse that really over-the-top pun, it was not intentional. But yes, the metallics do shine. But seriously, I love shiny things, but I never like adding metallics from like Ranger or Jacquard in a Petri, because all those ever do is obscure everything in their path. Like they go down, they kind of spread, and they make this opaque blanket that if you try to break up, never looks good, and I just don't like using them. But now, here, watch how beautifully behaved the Marabu bronze is going to be here. I can add as much as I want almost without any fear. It'll bloom like a traditional color, but add some shimmer, and it has like this, it gives this fine, wispy, feathery texture too. It's really cool. I'll really be happy when I get to show you what it does when it's cured. I spend a little time adding more to my pattern. I really recommend having fun doing this process. Making random drops in a Petri, that's a lot of fun, for sure. But I really think that consciously, deliberately placing your dots in specific places and just sort of creating, like, either it doesn't have to be a symmetrical pattern, but like really deciding where everything's going to go, I think it makes you more connected to the piece somehow. I don't know. Does that sound weird? Tell me in the comments what you think, because I really, really, really believe this. And I really want to know what you guys think. Now let's do a little sculpting. I'm moving my bronze around to give it some more interest. I love how it floats above the other colors. It just kind of, it doesn't sink into them. It doesn't blend into them. It just kind of hangs out on top, pretty and sparkly. Then I decide to remove some white again. Now I have to be really careful here because I don't want to mess up what I've done so far. But again, I love really working on the details of pieces like this. It's just, I don't know, there's something extra fun about it. After getting the white out, I continue adding to the piece. And then I have some fun with the piece that's going to be a pendant. Or it could be a magnet, but sometimes I like both sides, so when that happens, I like making it a pendant. When running the skewer through, I make sure not to touch the bottom, because again, I don't want to hurt the mold. A little more bronze in the oval mold. And now I'm going to call these done. I will let them cure, and then we'll check out the results. Cross our fingers. It's been well over 24 hours, and I feel safe removing these from the molds. Now, they could have come out way before this, but especially given all the alcohol ink that goes into Petris, prior to at least 24 hours, they can be bendy when they come out of the mold. So they'd be easy to warp and kind of keep from being as flat as you'd like. And they are also still susceptible to fingerprints when they're soft. Now, I know the temptation to look before is really strong, but the longer you can wait, the better your result, especially for something that needs to be flat and level. All right, let's do this. I'm a little gaga over this little mold because the surface, the inner surface, is super shiny, so I always get really nice results. And it releases like so easily. Oh, that's kind of cool. It's very simple. I mean, look how shiny this thing is. It's just crazy. This mold is just nuts. But look. So you could see the cross marks that I made. And it's not like super deep or anything, but it's very shimmery. I mean, it's shiny, and the sort of shimmer of the bronze really shows nicely. So I'm pretty happy with that. I like both sides, actually. So what I'll do is top coat this one. I'll file down the edges so that they're even, and then top coat this with like stone coat, quick coat or something. And then I can make a really fun little pendant out of that. Yay. And then now, dum dum dum. Now for this one. Oh, by the way, stay tuned for the unmolding of one more bonus Petri when we're done with this one. Okay, so for this one, I'm hoping for some lovely wispy looking texture on the other side. Kind of lacy-ish kind of thing. It's very shallow, so it won't have deep effects, but it should still have a decent look to it. Yeah. I got some fun texture for sure. I like these. I love how you can see the copper through because of the negative space. And all the little details. I never tire of looking at these things. I don't know why. They just, I mean, there's like nothing else that can create something like this. I don't know any other form of mixing paint or anything that will give you all these little lacy, feathery, wispy kind of things. These look like, I don't know, the jellyfish or something. I like them. And then in a future test, I will do one that's thicker and see what happens when we do that. But I like the results that we got. Now this coaster test was already in progress when I decided to film the end of it. I just thought you might like to see it too. For more detailed Petri and other video fun, downloadable images, templates, individual attention when you need it, and more, become a patron of my channel on Patreon. For example, this past week, patrons got 2 extra videos from me. And as more patrons sign on, I'll be able to give even more. So join the team and get more out of this channel. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you know as soon as I post a new video here. Experimenting with Petris is fun and challenging. Some experiments work out great, and some are If you'd like to see more of these and other ways to have fun with inks, resin, and other things, hit the thumbs up and tell me about it in the comments too. If you're looking to add metallics to your Petri art, I honestly think Marabu's inks are the way to go. They don't take over, they literally feather out, and they shimmer in such a pretty and elegant way, I think. The sale for these inks continues, so you can still get them at 50% off. And when you spend $50 on the site, your shipping is half off too. Marabu's been slammed with orders, so some colors are out of stock, but make sure to snatch up everything you can while it's still there at this price. I've got direct links to the inks and everything else for you in the description box below the video. Thank you to all of you for using my links to start your purchases, even if you end up buying something else. Using the link to get where you're going is what helps make it possible for me to share techniques and product demos to hopefully save you money by showing you what works and how. Thank you for spending time here. I love sharing with you. Let your creative nature shine this week. See you soon. Bye now.